Over the years, the GTS has been the 911 model that hasn't really had its own identity. It's essentially been a Carrera S with a few options. But for the 992 generation, Porsche's had a real good go at trying to plug the gap between the GT3 and the Carrera models and give this its own identity. So is this car now the sweet spot for the 911 range? That's what we're here to find out. So let's go for a drive. Right, let's talk numbers. Behind us, we have got that 3-litre turbocharged flat 6 engine from the Carrera and Carrera S. Now, what they've done here though is just upped the power a bit to bridge the gap between the GT3 Turbo S models and of course the Carrera, like we mentioned earlier on. So, as a result, we now have 473 brake horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque, which means 0 to 60 comes in this 7-speed manual, 4.1 seconds. But if you want to go for a 4-wheel drive GTS with the PDK gearbox, 0 to 60 will come in at the same time as the GT3 in 3.4 seconds. Now, that's why we start to bring in that question about the GT3's relevance. Now, of course, the GT3 is a far sharper, far more agile, far more precise, far more track-orientated special. Now this, of course, is more like the road car. So, how do we differentiate between a regular Carrera and this GTS then? Well, first up, it comes with the Sport Apron. Now that's an optional extra on the Carrera S, but that means you get this sort of darkened trim in places. You get the darker headlights, and you also get a number plate relocated at the back. What you also get on the GTS model are these gorgeous 20 and 21-inch Turbo S centre-lock wheels. Behind them, these are stolen also, again, from the 911 Turbo S, so you get these gorgeous cast-iron 6-pot monoblock brakes at the back, but you can opt for a carbon ceramic pack. I'm not sure why you would at 6K, not really necessary in the road car, but if you want it, you can have it. What you also get on the GTS is this new sort of redesigned rear bumper. So the number plate's been moved up from the bottom here, and I think it looks a lot better with it up here. It looks a bit more 911S to me. You also get these active sports exhaust, which give you that sort of burbles and adds a bit more character to the car. It's specific for the GTS, tuned for this car, and it sounds fantastic. So, let's look at the Turbo and Turbo S, where this car has actually stolen some bits from, as I mentioned, the wheels, for example, and the brakes. It's also stolen the springs and dampers, which means in Porsche's new active suspension management system, they've managed to retune those springs and damper rates, and it makes for a car which puts the Carrera a little bit to shame when it comes for sports car feel, overall drama, performance, feedback. It just takes that Carrera S and just takes it up to 11. Now, something that the 911 has always had going for it is the fact that it is quite happy to dial down, just relax through little villages like this when you come into a British back roads, and it does dial down beautifully. This is a car you really can use every day, and this is why we talk about the 911 being sometimes the sweet spot of the sports car world. It's kind of the car you aspire to be because it has that prestige, that premium, that luxury, that premium feel to it. But it's the way it makes you feel every day. It makes you feel special. It's easy to drive. It's easy to negotiate about town. This 7-speed gearbox is an absolute dream to work with in this car. While the PDK gearbox is fantastic, every day it's probably the better choice for your 911. In and out of traffic, town driving, city driving, things like that are far easier with the PDK. But when the opportunity arises, there is something very special about changing gears yourself, and what it does is just reconnect you with the 911, gets you involved with the driving experience. You're not just snapping paddles on a steering wheel into the next gear, you're thinking about your next gear change into the next corner. Now, as you probably hear, either I'm fantastic at hill and tow, or this car has auto blip downshift. We have a fantastic auto blip system. I've left it on on country road driving like this. Now you can turn it off for more engagement, to feel more involved in the drive, to make you feel a bit more special when you nail that heel and toe. Now let's talk practicality just for a second. I don't want to bore you, but it's something we must consider, or at least talk about briefly. Now, on a long run from Reading to Peterborough, I got 30 mpg, which I think is bloody fantastic when you consider this is a 470 horsepower, near 200 mile an hour missile of a car. You also get the rear bench. Really, it's enough space for some young kids, but you're not going to want to be an adult at the back there. And of course, engines behind us, so we have the front trunk, frunk, whatever you want to call it, if that's not too cringy. Plenty of space in there. You can do a weekend shop, you can go away for a weekend, but don't expect it to have loads and loads of room. Remember, this is a 911, not a Ford Focus. Let's talk chassis. As I mentioned, spring dampers from the Turbo S, retuned for this car. It makes a hell of a lot of difference over the regular car, the regular Carrera. The turn in here feels a little bit more sharper. I feel like there's a bit more mechanical grip at the rear. I feel like the helper springs that have been introduced to the rear axle help just keep the car secure over extreme travel, so crests and things like that when you're traveling at a decent pace. Is it the sweet spot? Yes and no. Arguably, a base Carrera is the sweet spot. It's the lightest car, it has the least options, it's pretty much as engineers wanted it. But this GTS, what it does is take the luxury to that next level slightly with these options in particular. It takes that performance to that next level. It takes the chassis, everything, involvement. It just takes it to that next level. But it's nowhere near as bonkers as the Turbo S, and the Turbo even for that matter. We're talking roughly 100 horsepower difference. Now, if you want more performance from your GTS, you can option it the way you want to. And that means you can add a lightweight package option too, which saves about 25 kilos. And what you do is lose those rear seats. So you lose a touch of practicality. Really, you'd use the space and put jackets and things like that anyway. You also get bucket seats, but crucially, they add in the rear wheel steering. Now, that's going to help you on the lower speed corners to just rotate the car a little bit easier. And in high speed corners, that's going to allow you to change direction quicker. In the real world, do you need it? Probably not, no. And it's an expensive option. And if we're talking about a 25 kilogram saving, we're talking about taking this particular car to under 1,500 kilos at that point. And then you're about 70 kilos away from a GT3. Remember, this isn't a GT3, so is that really the way you want to go with it? Personally, I'd prefer to stick with this as a road car, forget your lightweight package, take some of the nice options, and enjoy the 911 for what it is. Inside, it's pretty much a case of business as usual. All of the switchgear, everything on the side here, like your exhaust open valve button, things like that, everything feels like it's of a premium quality, like you're getting your money's worth, like it feels like the price tag. Now, this particular GTS has been fitted with quite a few options. We've got the carbon fiber interior here, we've got red stitching around the car on the seats, we've got this sort of race text material everywhere, which is essentially just an Alcantara suede. We've got Bose surround sound system. We've got a painted sunroof as well. Everything feels and looks fantastic and premium, but at the same time, that means the list price is up to £124,000 on the road for this car. And that's expensive, but the best thing about this is the fact that we've got 3 pedals, we've got a 7-speed manual gearbox, and this is the purest drink. But the thing that blows my mind every time with this car is the amount of mechanical grip that is on offer mid-corner, straight, it doesn't matter, off camber. Because the engine is behind us, we get a lovely amount of pressure on that rear axle, which means those tyres dig into the ground, and we can apply pretty much all of that 473 horsepower directly to the road, which makes this car ferociously fast, but also remarkably easy to drive on the limit as well. It gives you plenty of warning if you're gonna make an absolute hash job of that corner, and the traction control systems will step in and save the day for you. Or you can turn it off and be a hero. Yeah, this one's a special one.